We are excited to be here. We are welcome to the Shepherd and You
Season 2.
Season 2.
Episode
And we
1.
are starting it right here in Kampala. And we are excited. The Shepherd and You. I want you to call somebody. I want you to tell them to tune in on this amazing podcast. And of course, I have my co-host, the one and only, Pastor Bonnie.
Beautiful.
That's how he smiles. And, well, we want to kick off this season with a powerful subject. And this subject is burnout or fatigue or fatigue.
Fatigue.
And one of the reasons why I want us to do it is because I realize that especially if you are in the ministry, you can easily burn out and you can be tired and you can be fatigued. And I have been there myself many times. And a lot of times when you're fatigued, you have several symptoms that can point you to that you are actually experiencing this thing. So I don't know, Pastor Bonnie, whether you're I know you are young, you're energetic, and all that. But I think also young people can get tired.
That's true. In fact, the more productive and hyperactive you are, the easier it is for you to get burnout. So being young is actually a qualification for burning out.
Because you exact a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Because when you look at even the older people,
Yeah.
even the ones we can see,
In this,
they just look relaxed.
Yeah.
Because I think they have seen too much,
Yeah.
and
Life has happened.
life has happened, and they don't see anything big.
Yeah.
But when you become so involved in the work of the ministry, and when you're in part of a church, you know, our church, like Harvest Family, is a highly productive environment. Like, what does that mean? Can you try and explain what that means?
A highly productive environment is an environment that requires high production, in the sense high accountability and high challenge. So in such an environment, we expect something from you, vis-a-vis in an environment where nothing is expected from you.
Yeah.
So in a high production environment, the fact that something is expected from you can be a cause of stress, which basically is one of the symptoms of burnout.
Burnout, yeah. And a lot of times in churches like Harvest Nation, it's not your ordinary church.
Yeah.
Because a Harvest Family Church is intentional on creating and building disciples.
Yes.
And to be a disciple is different from being
A Christian.
an ordinary Christian. So, because a disciple is a practicing Christian and must be discipled by someone and must aim to become a discipler.
Yes.
So that whole thing there makes it very stressful.
Yes.
Because it means you're involved in people's lives, like you're intentionally involved in their lives.
Yeah.
And you're specifically, like on their face.
Yes.
Isn't it?
And others are involved in your life.
Yes.
So that staying between that tension of something is expected by my leader, and I'm also expecting something from my followers. That tension is the tension that can easily create a burnout. Yes.
So let me start by, leading to the stages of burnout. And burnout can also happen in marriage. If you're in a relationship, you're married after maybe 3 years, you can start feeling, because this is not something you are used to. You are used to be alone. You used to be your own person. Because marriage is also like a discipleship.
It is. Actually, it's one of the greatest
discipleship tools,
yes.
Yeah, because your wife is involved in your life.
Yes.
And your husband is also involved in your life.
That's true.
And you need to be accountable, because discipleship is accountability.
That's true.
So you can't just come anytime you want.
That's true.
And you can't go anywhere you want.
That's true.
And you can't use money
how you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people actually are tired not because their marriage is bad, but because they are actually experiencing a burnout. And so we want to look at stages of burnout. And I'm going to talk about, and if you feel like you need to ask me a question and stop me on my tracks. Number one is what we call the honeymoon phase. Now, every organization has people who are at the honeymoon stage. The honeymoon stage speaks of when you are excited, enthusiastic, happy about the responsibilities you have. I mean, when I got married, I used to say my wife and I, or me and my wife. Then somebody came and corrected me and said, no, you say my wife and I. And I mean, I was so excited, but at some point it stopped and I said, who you?
Mama watoto.
This one has done this, has done that, because the honeymoon stage ended.
I remember a few years ago, there's a couple, they're in this studio right now. They got married. The honeymoon phase, they even started a kitchen.
They started a
kitchen.
A YouTube channel.
Yes. A virtual kitchen.
Yes.
They would shoot videos of them cooking, them wearing.
But then what happened to that kitchen?
Burnout. Walichoma kitchen. The kitchen was burnt literally. The kitchen burnt out.
Mercy.
So they were happy. They would do those videos of their kitchen, different recipes. They would cook. We would enjoy. We would look forward for their videos. Then a few years down the line,
we can't see the video.
We can't see the kitchen. No, we can't see the
You meet the guy eating smocha.
Yeah, on the road. You're like, yo, what's happening?
Or Rolex.
Yeah.
Now, stop telling us about that couple. Tell us about you.
I was also in the same phase, but I didn't start a kitchen for me. My mind was my wife and I. I was so much into my wife and I. And I remember when I got married, I'm like some guy recently, someone told me, Pasi, I just got married. So I asked them, how are you finding your new wife or your new husband? Actually, it was the husband. The wife told me, I don't see anything that can make us have an issue. I don't see anything.
So that is how you are. But don't have to have a story. That is how you are.
I didn't see anything that can make me have an issue with my wife. I thought I married a beautiful, calm woman. Fast forward, we start living together. First year. One day, my wife upset me. I locked her out of the house. And I called myself, I said, hey!
Your syllabus was... syllabus will go like Kimbisha. First year. I thought you'd say after 3 years.
Burnout is something.
Yeah. But the thing is that when you are at the honeymoon stage, even in church, you are enthusiastic. Yeah. And I want you to remember the first time you were given a responsibility, the first time you were asked to do something, the first time you were asked to preach. Yeah. I'm sure you how did you feel?
It started by you actually teaching me how to preach with a bottle. At first, I felt, wow, such an unworthy person being given such a privilege. So I felt so welcome. I felt so invited.
Yeah.
Then fast forward.
No, you're fasting. No, don't fast forward. We'll get there. No, you move so fast. So anyway, but the honeymoon stage is that stage where you're first given a responsibility. It's exciting. You feel happy. You go early to church.
Yes.
You know, I remember you used to go to church at 3 a.m.
Yes.
Sleep in the church.
Yes. Pray.
That is the honeymoon stage. Yeah. It's a very enthusiastic, exciting time. Yeah. You know, and then when you keep doing it, because of familiarity and because of the exertion of pressure of the requirement, you go to what we call the onset of stress.
The beginning
of stress. Because now you are increasingly being pressured.
Yeah.
Demand is on you. Yeah. So you can easily say, hey, Leo, today I've worked hard. You have what we call occasional fatigue. You find it hard to maintain the same enthusiasm that you first had. So now you are taking steps towards your burnout.
Step by step.
Step by step. But it begins with stress. Actually, burnout, you can't be burnt out if you have not been stressed. And by the way, I don't think that you can succeed without being in a stressful environment.
How?
Yeah. You can't succeed if you're not in a stressful environment. Anything that does not stress you, it means there is no progress.
Yeah.
Because progress is always against pressure.
That's true.
Against the wind.
That's true.
Against the storm.
That's true.
So if you want it easy and you don't want to be stressed, just sit there and do nothing.
If you want growth, expect stress.
Growth in any area.
Yeah.
In marriage, in
business,
education, in
your marriage,
like now when I look at Pastor Mercy, she's trying to get her masters, and those people with masters, I mean, I'm sure they can tell it's not a walk in the park. Now I imagine if you want PhD.
My goodness.
Because the masters in itself, even before we traveled to Uganda, she woke up early and went to the library the same day because she needs to write some documents, she needs to do something, and then she would come. Now she would have to come and then pack. Me, I was just waiting for her to come and pack my things.
You're the master.
Because I did not send her to school. I did not tell her to go to school. She desired to go. But that desire for growth is very stressful.
That's true.
So if you are in a church, you are a leader of a church, you are a leader of a business, you're a leader of a company, you're a leader of a small group, and you want it to grow, you will experience stress. All right? And that's the beginning of you entering into a place where we call burnout. And then the third step is the chronic stress. Chronic stress becomes, it means that everything now is more stressed, emotionally draining. And then at this time, if you're in ministry, it feels like a burden.
It's no longer a joy.
It's no longer a joy. You used to be excited. If you're in marriage, it also feels like a burden. If your wife comes and wants to talk to you, you feel anakuchokesha.
You do this.
You do this.
Hey!
Yeah. So you are in the chronic stress stage. And if you don't catch it there, it's about to lead you now into the proper burnout. You understand? And a lot of church people, they are either in the chronic stress level or in the burnout stage where you're feeling, I don't even want to go to that church.
I think the concept of burnout comes from when a plane is flying, it uses two engines. So for the plane to peak, it must run on both engines for it to be able to fly. So in case there is an emergency and the pilot is not able to continue running on both engines, they call that burnout. So they switch off one engine and maintain one engine. It's the same concept with the rocket. So the rocket flies and then they switch off the engines and then it uses gravity. Now, in normal circumstances, there are engines that, for example, in a church that make a church effective. One of them is preaching, other one is cell system, other one is administration. Those are like the engines of a church. So at a point, those engines demand so much. So when one of those engines in a church is not working, people easily burn out.
Yeah.
So in marriage, there are engines that make a happy home. For example, kindness, concern. So money. Actually, that's one of the main engines.
I have seen guys are just smiling. Communication. So especially the women are smiling. You say, that money.
Why did you forget money? So it is always important when you feel like you're burning out to ask yourself,
check.
Yes, what engine is not on the go? What engine is not moving?
Yeah. And I didn't know that you went to NASA.
Yeah. Nowadays you can do anything on YouTube.
I didn't know that you are a pilot.
But at least you are aviator.
Aviation.
Yeah.
Aviator.
AI pilot.
YouTube pilot.
Yeah, YouTube pilot.
Wow. But that's a powerful revelation. that when one of the engines fails, it's called a burnout. And so in the different engines within a church setup, a marriage,
in your sphere.
an organization, the sphere of your influence. If it burns out, then you're experiencing a problem right there. Now, there's something else I didn't tell people, and that is habitual burnout. We have come to the end of this broadcast, and we want you to become a partner to keep us going and to keep us ministering this wonderful, wonderful, amazing gospel that we are doing. So I would like you to, go into your phone. The M-Pesa details are right there, and your support will keep this broadcast going. I mean, it takes a lot to run these things, and it is your giving that keeps us afloat. And I mean, God bless you as you partner with the shepherd and you.